2 years have passed since the Shannon family said goodbye to Anna Cardwell, the eldest daughter of reality television personality June Shannon, better known to millions of viewers as Mama June. The grief that followed that December night in 2023 has never fully lifted from the family's daily life, and recent revelations from June herself have left longtime fans deeply concerned. Not only is the emotional weight of losing a child still very much present, but June has now opened up about a series of her own health scares that unfolded in the time since Anna's passing. To understand where things stand today, it is necessary to go back to where the story truly began, back to the summer of 2022, when the first signs of something terribly wrong started to appear. Anna Cardwell was 29 years old when persistent back pain began disrupting her daily routine in August of 2022. At first, the discomfort did not seem like the kind of thing that would eventually change the trajectory of an entire family. Back pain is common. Most people push through it, assume it will pass, and move on. So what made this situation different from the kind of ordinary aches that most people experience and forget about within a few weeks? A hospital visit provided the first clue that something more significant was happening beneath the surface. Doctors discovered a cyst that required removal, and for a brief period there was cautious hope that addressing the cyst might resolve the problem entirely. But the months that followed told a different story. Symptoms continued to worsen rather than improve. The family held on through the uncertainty, not yet knowing the full weight of what was coming. Then, in January of 2023, doctors delivered a diagnosis that struck the Shannon family like a blow they had not been prepared to absorb. Anna had been diagnosed with stage 4 adrenal carcinoma, an exceptionally rare and aggressive form of cancer. Stage 4 means the cancer had already advanced significantly before being identified. The word adrenal refers to the adrenal glands, small structures that sit above the kidneys and regulate essential body functions. Carcinoma indicates a malignant tumor originating in tissue cells. Each of those words alone carries weight. Together, they form a phrase that leaves very little room for optimism. Medical examinations revealed that the disease had already spread widely throughout Anna's body, reaching the liver, the spleen, the lungs, and the kidney. With cancer present in so many vital organs simultaneously, the path forward was going to be incredibly difficult. But was there still any meaningful treatment left to try? Doctors moved forward with chemotherapy, beginning in March of 2023. The physical toll of treatment became visible within months as Anna lost her hair during the process, a visible reminder that the fight was ongoing and taking everything it could from her body. The family watched and waited, hoping that treatment might slow the disease. Then came July of 2023, and with it another devastating update. Doctors informed the family that remission was no longer a realistic expectation. The illness had advanced beyond the point where medicine could turn things around. What remained was time, however much of it Anna had left, and the choice of how to spend those days. Anna chose, as much as her health allowed, to keep living. She drove around town. She spent time with her daughters, Caitlin and Kylie. She held on to the rhythms of ordinary life even when her body made that increasingly difficult. There is something quietly remarkable about that kind of persistence, about choosing presence over surrender when the outcome is already known. The final 3 weeks of Anna's life were spent at her mother's home, where the family gathered close. June later shared memories of those nights, describing moments when Anna would call out in the darkness, sometimes shouting her mother's name while struggling to breathe. Oxygen equipment sat nearby, though Anna often resisted keeping the mask in place. How does a family endure watching someone they love fight through something that painful night after night, knowing there is no path that leads to recovery? There's no clean answer to that question. What the Shannon family did was simply remain present. Sisters Alana Thompson, Jessica Shannon, and Lauren Shannon all came together inside that house. Anna's husband, Eldridge Tony, stayed by her side. Her daughters remained nearby. On the final evening, December 9th of 2023, the family sat together. Alana had requested a steak for Anna, perhaps hoping that a familiar comfort might bring some warmth. The steak arrived, but it was never eaten. The The family stayed together through the evening, talking softly, sharing the kind of quiet that only arrives when people understand that words have reached their limit. At 11:12 in the evening, Anna Cardwell took her final breath. She was 29 years old. Her daughter, Caitlin, who was 11 at the time, was present in the room when her mother passed. June later described Caitlin's reaction as one of shock, a child suddenly confronted with something no child should ever have to witness. 8-year-old Kylie lives with her father, Michael Cardwell, and has remained somewhat removed from the daily life of the Shannon household since losing her mother. How does a family hold itself together after a loss that reaches so deeply into so many lives at once? The Shannon family found a way that is both unusual and oddly human. A group text chain, still labeled with the nickname Anna had given it during happier times, remained active after her passing. Family members continue to send messages to Anna's old phone number, even knowing that the number may have been reassigned to someone else entirely. The messages go out anyway, not because anyone expects a reply, but because sending them keeps something alive. The act of writing to someone who is no longer there is, in its own way, a form of continuing the conversation. June has also kept Anna close through tribute jewelry worn daily and through conversations about her eldest daughter that happened freely and often, almost as though Anna is still part of the household. Living in the same home where Anna spent her final weeks has not been easy for any member of the family. Every room holds memory. Every corner of that house carries the echo of someone whose absence is felt constantly. Yet the family made a promise that Anna would not be forgotten, and that promise shapes how they move through each day. The grief does not exist in isolation, however. While the family was still finding its footing after Anna's death, June herself began facing a serious health situation of her own, one that forced her to confront fears she had hoped never to encounter again. During April of 2025, doctors discovered fibroid cysts inside June's body that had begun separating into individual cysts. The finding led directly to a medical recommendation that June had not anticipated. Doctors advised a total hysterectomy, a major surgical procedure that was not part of any plan and had not been on anyone's radar. June discussed the situation openly during a podcast appearance in March of 2026, explaining that the moment the recommendation came, real fear set in immediately. Fibroid cysts had changed form in a way that created what she described as a small but genuinely frightening medical scare. There was no long runway of preparation, no gradual building toward the decision. A serious finding simply arrived, and a life-changing operation followed. For someone already carrying the emotional weight of watching a daughter die from cancer, the timing made the fear feel heavier than it might have under different circumstances. Could the same illness that had taken Anna now be coming for her mother as well? June admitted that her mind kept returning to that exact thought during the months following surgery. Thoughts circled around ovarian cancer, around the possibility that history was in the process of repeating itself in the same family. Conversations with her surviving daughters became an outlet for some of that anxiety, but the worry lingered far longer than June had hoped. She described the experience as a period of being mentally stuck in dark thoughts, unable to fully move past the fear that a diagnosis like Anna's might arrive next. Doctors eventually confirmed that cancer was not present, and that news brought a significant measure of relief. But the health challenges didn't simply disappear once the worst fear was ruled out. June explained that other medical issues remain, conditions separate from menopause that still make certain days genuinely difficult. She has been open about the fact that the illness she is managing will not be fatal, but that it carries the potential to immobilize the body and restrict normal movement. That distinction matters. Something doesn't need to be life-threatening to significantly diminish the quality of daily life. The possibility of suddenly losing physical independence creates its own quiet and persistent fear, especially for someone who has already navigated so many periods of dependency and limitation. June's history with health problems stretches back well before Anna's illness. In 2018, she lost all vision in her right eye due to cataracts that had gone untreated since childhood. By the time doctors examined the damage, the blindness could not be reversed. The focus shifted entirely to preserving whatever sight remained in the left eye, an effort that required 4 separate surgeries. June spoke at the time about how disorienting the experience had been, how suddenly losing independence and relying on others for basic daily tasks created both physical and emotional exhaustion. Life had to be reorganized around a new and unfamiliar reality. Then, in September of 2022, just as Anna's health concerns were beginning to surface, June was also dealing with severe headaches and intense dizziness that sent her to the hospital. The symptoms appeared shortly after what should have been a routine medical appointment, turning an ordinary day into another frightening and unexpected situation. Hospital staff examined her carefully to rule out neurological causes. Years later, in July of 2025, while cameras were rolling during a television production, a psychic issued a warning during filming about a possible heart attack. June initially dismissed the concern, but the physical pain that followed became too strong to ignore. Nausea intensified, and doctors